You know that moment at the checkout counter, you're staring down at that little digital payment pad, using a plastic stylus attached to a frayed string, and the signature you scribble it looks like it was drawn by someone who just drank 3 espressos while falling down a flight of stairs. We have all been there. It is universally frustrating and maybe a little embarrassing when the cashier looks at it. But in this explainer, we're actually going to dive into the incredible science behind that exact messy moment. Seriously, why do our own hands betray us like this? I swear, sometimes my own signature looks like a doctor signing a prescription on a roller coaster. It is wildly inconsistent day in and day out. And, here is the truly maddening part of the whole thing. You have literally written this word 10,000 times. You'd think we'd have it down by now, right? In the scientific world, a signature is what researchers call a highly overlearned sequence. So why does this incredibly practiced, repetitive movement just get completely hijacked by fine motor noise the literal second we pick up a pen? Section 1. The Signature Identity Crisis. Okay, get this wild scientific fact. The variation in handwriting features is actually generally greater within individuals than between them. Just think about that for a second. My signature on a Tuesday looks like it was written by a completely different guy than my signature on a Wednesday. Your scribble has a literal identity crisis. And as we'll see, it all basically comes down to this biomechanical puzzle called the degrees of freedom problem. Section 2, the open-loop motor program. Let's peel back the curtain on your brain's internal software. An open-loop motor program is, by definition, a memory structure capable of transforming an abstract code into an action sequence without needing exterior visual feedback. Okay, but in everyday non-jargon terms, it basically means your brain doesn't micromanage every single tiny muscle twitch in your hand. Instead, it pulls from what researchers call an allographic buffer. Think of it like a temporary clipboard in your brain holding this abstract spatial goal. It essentially just says, hey, go make this squiggly shape, and then completely trust your hand to figure out the actual execution. Think about it like this. If the lights suddenly went out at the grocery store, your brain wouldn't panic. You'd just write a little bit slower. In fact, research comparing handwriting under normal visual feedback to handwriting done in the pitch dark shows that the signature's underlying structure and individual characteristics remain virtually identical. Your signature would still be just as wonderfully messy in the dark because the program is so automated, it practically runs blindfolded. Section 3. The degrees of freedom problem. So that degrees of freedom problem I mentioned, it's a lot like trying to parallel park a car that happens to have 15 different steering wheels. Your hand and wrist are just so incredibly flexible. You have so many joints, tendons, and muscles that there is a near infinite number of ways to execute a single simple stroke of a pen. You can attain the exact same visual trajectory using completely different mechanical solutions. Which really begs the question, doesn't it? If there are literally 1,000 ways to move your fingers just to cross a T, how on earth does your body solve this anatomical chaos in a split second just to sign a receipt? Section 4. The Principle of Isochrony. The answer lies in your hidden superpower, motor equivalence. This is the capacity of an organism to adapt to variable conditions by achieving invariant ends through variable means. To translate that dense science into English, your brain is a master improviser. Because you have all those extra degrees of freedom, your brain is freely swapping out muscle combinations on the fly just to get the ink on the paper. And it does this regardless of whether your hand is tired, the pen is super heavy, or you're signing at a really weird angle. Way back, pioneers like Carl Lashley and Nikolai Bernstein actually figured out that your brain does not store a rigid photographic blueprint of your signature. Not at all. Instead, it stores a highly flexible, abstract code representing your final goal. And that code automatically adapts to whatever environment you're in. And here is where the magic of isochrony comes in. Your brain uses centralized timing to maintain the temporal relationships between your writing strokes, even while allowing for totally spontaneous variation in size and shape. It completely compensates for unexpected perturbations. So basically, isochrony means your brain keeps the internal rhythm and the relative timing of your signature perfectly intact, even if the loops and slants look like a dying spider today. It's absolute proof that you have a beautifully, flexibly organized motor system. Section 5, the log normal handwriter. I absolutely love this conclusion from a fascinating Frontiers paper we looked at. Quote, the log normality of the velocity patterns can be interpreted as reflecting the behavior of subjects who are in perfect control of their movements. Unquote. Yes, you heard that right. Your completely illegible, embarrassing checkout scribble is literal scientific mathematical proof that you have perfect motor control. Now, this mathematical perfection is actually a lifelong arc. As toddlers, right around 3 to 5 years old, we fight to achieve this log normal precision. We're actively converging toward it. Then we totally master it in adulthood to create our highly controlled, fluent, yet undeniably messy scribbles. But then, unfortunately, as we reach older age, our movements become a bit slower, a bit less coordinated. We gradually deviate from this ideal log normal behavior as our fine motricity declines. Section 6. Embracing your unique scribble. Now, because you exhibit so much of this motor equivalence, it makes the job of a forensic document examiner incredibly difficult. Relying on parameter variation to attribute authorship can be genuinely dangerous for them. Examiners have to carefully identify which parameters vary systematically with changes in your state. Basically, they have to look at a document and figure out, is this weird loop a forgery, or is this just your brain dynamically solving a physics equation in real time because you were holding the pen weirdly? So what is the big takeaway from all this? Well, it's pretty empowering, honestly. Your wildly variable signature is a feature, not a bug. Your inconsistent handwriting is not clumsiness. It is the beautiful real-time calculation of a highly advanced biomechanical machine. Your brain is just prioritizing the ultimate goal of getting it done over the tiny, superficial details. I'll leave you with this final kind of provocative thought to chew on. As aging eventually shifts our motor control away from this mathematical log normal perfection, what is your signature going to look like in another 10,000 tries? How will your flexible brain adapt to those new physical constraints? It is definitely something to ponder the next time you pick up a pen at the checkout line. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember, embrace the scribble.